Are you sorry? Are you heartfully sorry for all of your sins? It matters not, for now is the time for your just punishments. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host, Charlie the Professor Esser, and with me, as always, is my skinny rich friend.
Hey, it's Mozz.
Hey, Mozz. Glad to have you as always. Let's get right into this one. Season 1, Episode 10, Virtue of the Vicious. An attack on a high-profile politician is examined and re-examined through different perspectives. Madani faces a painful truth. Directed by Jim O'Hanlon. Written by Jerry Conway, of course, created the character of the Punisher, along with John Romita Sr., and Ross Andrew. Steve Lightfoot created the show, and tonight's episode, written by our hardest working man in show business and staff writer Ken Christensen, and of course Angela Lamanna is our story editor this week. This is a lot going on in this episode. This is our Rashomon episode. Rashomon, one of Akira Kurosawa's great films, telling the story from three different perspectives. As those of you who are familiar, and for those who aren't familiar, Rashomon is the tale of a young couple beset by a bandit on the road, and then as they go to tell their story, each tells a different story from their own perspective. And in this week's episode, we get that very much between the senator who tells his story as a hero, Karen Page, who gives lie to that, and somewhere buried deep beneath.
Right, so those are the only two perspectives that we're looking at throughout the episode, right?
Well, we see them, and then we see the Punisher's perspective as well as Lewis's. In fact, we open on Lewis's perspective as it's just Lewis,
Right.
setting himself up to go in to commit this crime. As we open up on a guy getting ready for work, gets a knock at the door.
He gets a bullet through the eye, because unfortunately he worked for Anvil Security.
And what does he get for his trouble, Mozz? Yes, and more unfortunately, he happened to be Lewis's shirt size. So
That guy got lucky.
there were probably other Anvil guys like, oh man, I need a 32 regular. He gets shot, and he goes into his apartment.
I'm not sure. What does he notice in the apartment? I can't recall.
As he's getting himself ready, what does he notice in the apartment, Mozz?
Oh, God, yes, the birds, yeah. Now, I thought that was, what did you think that meant? What he was doing with the birds, and the fact that the birds didn't want to go out.
Well, the birds didn't want to go out because they're birds. They're birds that have been raised in a cage.
Right.
And they have no interest in leaving safety. He sees it as
Right.
he probably sees the life of the birds as sheltered, whereas the birds sees their life as their life. And
Exactly.
there isn't a strong selling point for them leaving the cage. The cage is their home. The cage is what is safe. And,
Right.
of course, Lewis wants to kick everybody out of their cage, as it were. He wants everyone to wake up and see the dangers that are set before them. But the fact of the matter is most people don't see those dangers because to them, it's everything outside of those dangers that are dangerous.
Because when he first was trying to open up the window, I was like, "Oh God, these birds are gonna fly out there, and if they do, they're gonna die within a second." They don't know how to survive out there. So I was like, I hope they don't. And then when they didn't leave, and I was wondering if he thought to himself, okay, maybe what I'm trying to show people isn't really either what they want to see or what's really there. There is a disconnect between what I think should happen and what is happening.
Well, there's an interesting side aspect that you can place in this. And one of the things that when the senator's telling his story and he hits his talking points and what he tells to Karen Page, which is we're not trying to take away all guns from all people. We're not trying to take some guns from all people. We're trying to take all guns from some people. And the idea is that and you can that when people are talking about this urge for gun control, what they're saying is we want to feel safe, and no one is saying, no one is really saying, that you can't have these things, you can't have guns. But people are saying, what, we want to know that if you do have these things, that it's not going to be dangerous for us.
Right.
That you have somehow proved yourself
right.
worthy of having these weapons, and that's the basic idea. Now,
like when somebody gets their black belt in karate, they have to go register their hands as weapons, right? So, like, why should we not have to register guns?
Yeah, well, I don't know if that's actually true, to be honest with you.
No, it's an old, but
yeah,
just
it's an old trope, yes. Yeah, but no, I mean, obviously, yeah. And that's the thing is like, and just to, not to get too much into the debate, I am a big believer that if you can show that you're responsible enough, I have no problem with you having any gun you want to have. If you want to have a fully automatic, Tommy gun, a Thompson automatic submachine gun, if that's what you want, so you can be like a gangsta in the movies, and you can show that you have, training and knowledge and are willing to undergo various checks to prove that you are a person who is legitimately should have this weapon, what do I care? What do I care if you want to have a Thompson automatic submachine gun in your den? What do I care? It's not hurting me.
Arnold Schwarzenegger wants to have 3 tanks on his property. That's fine with me, I trust Arnold Schwarzenegger with 3 tanks.
Well, I don't know if I trust him with 3 tanks, but
he does.
But yeah, but what I'm saying is that that's a question for various agencies to determine.
Right.
I mean, honestly, yes, I probably do trust Arnold Schwarzenegger with 3 tanks. Although most of those tanks are usually, they're usually disabled for firing.
That's true.
Basically just heavily armored tractors.
Part of this debate that's surprising to me is that the people who are responsible enthusiasts of guns are not seeing that if they are behind the idea that every moron should have a gun, it only makes them look bad, and it sort of undermines what they want to have, which is access to guns. If they keep letting the morons represent all gun owners, the gun owners are not going to look very good. It's going to be easy to get legislation that goes against them, and maybe he goes too far. So if everybody calms down and acts reasonable and points out the people that are acting crazy on either side and just says, okay, no, we understand that those guys are crazy, but there is a center line that we can both reach towards,
I agree with you, Mozz, and I think that's where we want to be. Unfortunately, not everybody is as intelligent as my skinny rich friend. That is the problem. But anyway, getting back to the actual story. So as we were saying, this is a Rashomon story, and we do get these different perspectives. And the senator is telling Mahoney, our detective, who made detective during Daredevil season 1. If you recall, he was the hero after the Devil of Hell's Kitchen caused all sorts of problems. He is on this case. He's on the Punisher case, and he is interviewing the senator. And the senator tells his story. And in his story, which is how we as the viewers know almost immediately, his story is false.
Right.
The Punisher is working with Lewis.
I think he believes his story, though.
Oh, absolutely. That's the thing.
Because he says, I've never even held a so fast, and it was so scary that his mind jumbled the memories back together in a way that they're not even noticing. He just took that for what actually happened.
Yeah, well, the entire point of the Rashomon story is that, we never know who was really right and who was making stuff up as they went along.
Wow.
That what we're all dealing with is this broader story of what happened, and everyone trying to put their pieces together, and everyone, you think about, when you think about the Mandela effect, how people have these false memories, and these false memories bug them because they so clearly remember these things, because what it is you have this memory, and your mind pieces it together from various pieces that it has, and it builds out this narrative, and then you're given evidence that narrative is false, and you say, no, my narrative is right. The universe is false.
No. But I remember Berenstain being EIN.
Okay.
I used to be a little kid and go to the library, and I used to rent all the Berenstain Bear books. That was my favorite thing when I was a little kid, and it was EIN. I would know. I've read them all.
Yeah. Well,
it was EIN. There's no way anybody's going to help. AIN.
And you know what? You want to know what is funny to me, Mozz? Is that I have a Bear issue or Berenstein Bear issue. Mine is that I remember that bear is spelled B-E-A-R, not B-E-R-E.
Wait, it's B-E-R-E?
Yeah, it's B-E-R-E-N, and then the S-T-E-I or S-T-I-E-N. But I remember...
Oh, so you remember it how?
I remember it as B-E-A-R-E-N-S-T-E-I-N or I-E-N. I don't know I before E myself, but I remember it as a child that the bear was in their name, and that's why they were the Berenstein Bears. See, I remember the bear being part of their name, and that's why I thought it was very cool that they were the Berenstein Bears. But that's the universe I'm from originally.
Know.
You see?
Yeah, I don't know if mine had that one. No, it does seem vaguely familiar, but I don't seem so locked on shore as I do about the ending of the name Berenstein. But anyway, so yeah.
Yeah. See, the thing for me is that every day I come up with another Mandela effect in my life. And like there's all sorts of things where I was certain it was one thing, then it was another. What actor played in a certain role, what the film was called, what even a scene looked like, what the perspective of it was.
You reveal those in your head.
Because, you know.
I don't know.
And here's what I'm going to tell you. Here's what I'm going to tell you. If you are a uniquely intelligent and creative person, you're much more likely to suffer from a Mandela effect. Because your narratives are so clear and so pure, because your brain just naturally takes all this disparate information and puts it into a scene that is the most entertaining for you, and that is essentially what it does. So, so that is my theory on what causes the Mandela effect. That basically, the more intelligent, and everyone's going to go along with this because I'm saying about how intelligent and creative you are if you're suffering from this. And then it becomes my humble brag when I talk about how I'm always having these Mandela effects because I'm always putting these things together. But that is essentially what we're seeing here in the short term, where the senator is either possibly trying to retell his story or possibly just remembering his story falsely. And this does have a direct tie to the Rashomon. The film Rashomon, in the sense that when the highwayman and the husband who died tell their stories, they are these amazing heroes and ready to fight. And when the wife tells her story, it's like, no, he was a coward, and it was one coward fighting another coward, and I'm just happy to be rid of the both of them. And that is. But as I said, we as the audience are given the fact that we know Frank isn't working. That when we see Frank come in and start killing people, we know that's not the case. But again, in our Rashomon stories, we are seeing again how incompetent Anvil is. Whether it is just in Lewis walking right in, when not for nothing, here's an actual important thing to remember. Russo knows about Lewis. Right. Because Russo heard him on the radio, too. Russo knows Frank isn't the killer. Russo is doing this job, and Russo is just half butting it the whole time. He's not sending his best men, even though he's actually physically there. And I wonder if maybe he thinks this is a way to
because in the end he wants to kill him too, right?
Which is something I just thought of now. Well, they have an interesting moment on the stairs. I think on some level, I think that when they have their moment on the stairs, which is when Madani also confronts Billy Russo on this issue.
I think it's just two waves.
Although she actually first sort of confronts him. Yeah. Well, because I kind of... It's sort of almost like, that Darth Vader, Luke Skywalker thing in Empire Strikes Back, where it's like, join me and we shall rule the Empire as, father and son kind of thing. And I think Russo still wants that from the Punisher, but...
Lewis wants that from the Punisher, too.
Well, yeah, everyone wants the Punisher to be on their side, because they all see Frank Castle as righteous.
Yeah, and so does Micro. Micro wants that with him too. Everybody wants to sidekick it up with the Punisher.
Well, I mean, I don't know if it's necessarily.
It's almost like they're having tryouts for Punisher sidekicks.
Yeah, well, I don't think any of them really. Well, I mean, I think the more truthful point is it's not that they want to be the Punisher's sidekick; it's that the Punisher is
or their chosen weapon
goal. They want to be they want to be they want to be they don't want to be the Punisher's sidekick. They want to be his teammate. It's like it's like the Cap and Falcon, and the Cap will be the first to tell you that no, the Falcon isn't his sidekick. He is a hero in his own right and my equal in every way as we fight together. But it's like Robin. Robin is an equal most of the time.
Right,
with
that's
Batman,
what I thought. Because in this episode, Punisher it's all Batman. And so that's what made me think of the psychic reference. They're all trying out for the position of Robin.
Well, yeah, and that is certainly where we're at. I think even Madani would like to Robin it up with the Punisher. But really, we see that his real Robin is Karen Page throughout it all. Who is the one person who really... She's like the one person who the Punisher likes and who can stand the Punisher, but she is also the one person who does not blow any smoke up the Punisher's butt. She's a woman who is running her own... She's running her own line on everything here. But because, of course, when Lewis confronts her, she is willing to go along with him.
How do you mean?
At least semi, Well, actually, no. Wait, maybe I'm misremembering it. No, you know what it is. Well, I mean, she, when she runs into Lewis and she realizes it's Lewis.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, she doesn't really go along with him. He does capture her, but I'm actually I'm thinking of how she reacts with the Punisher.
Yeah.
Actually, that when she helps the Punisher escape. That's pretty. But we're getting ahead of ourselves here because there are some great moments prior to that. One of the moments I wanted to bring up on this, especially talking about the Anvil guys being bad at their job and how they're just letting Lewis walk in, and they're not really holding their perimeter properly in this security role. And one way to think about this is because they're soldiers, they're not. They're not cops. They're not security personnel. And there's a great item in here when Russo's being interrogated by Mahoney, and Russo tries to pull out the "I was a soldier" card to say, hey, don't question me. I'm a soldier. Aren't you supposed to be grateful for my service? And basically, because he asks Mahoney if he's ever served, and Mahoney says, "I wear a badge. I serve every day." Basically saying, look, you might have fought in Afghanistan, but every single day I am here in the city trying to keep it safe.
You may be out there fighting for oil interests and heroin interests, but I'm fighting for my people. Right. And democracy.
And freedom, too. Heroin and oil, they can go along with freedom, but yeah. Well, yeah. We'll get back to you on that. Two don't have to be mutually exclusive, I guess is the point. But I like that he calls him out on that, and because I do think that there is this quality here where, especially for a guy like Russo, where even though he is a real soldier and a real, decorated hero, in many ways he kind of reminds me of our faux Vietnam vet from that Lewis killed, where he sees his service as this bludgeon to get people to do what he wants, He's and for what it's worth, Russo is very much a guy who is always trying to get what he wants from people, more than necessarily, he doesn't necessarily have a goal in life beyond people doing what he wants. He is a classic sociopath.
Yeah, well, that's also sort of in line with
very manipulative, very
what he's trained to do. He's just mission oriented. At all costs, the mission must be accomplished. So everything else goes out the window, and that opens up the door to questions of ethics or whatever. If it helps the mission, I got to do it. It sort of cleans the table and makes things a lot easier to do.
And it makes for an interesting thing when we look at how this story played out with the senator and or the congressman, I forget which he is, and Russo, where Russo is basically saying, I know my objective, and it doesn't matter what I think about Lewis, I personally hate the idea of being a bomber, he says. But that at the end of the day, my job is to, protect you.
Terrible.
But at the end of the day, he does a very poor job of protecting the senator. And in fact, it raises this question: was that really what his job was, or is he, when he's seeing this, seeing what he's doing of handling the senator more as, this is a way for me to draw the Punisher out, draw Frank Castle out to me. And so in that way, that desire to complete the mission has less to do with what he's saying his job is and more with what he actually wants to do. I mean, I guess on some level that's the only way I can justify Anvil being both really bad at their job, as we're seeing them here. Although again, I don't know how good they were at their job in the last time we saw any Anvil guys in action, which is when they were fighting Homeland Security. And the only reason why they, that he had to kill one of his own men, and then he had to kill Stein in order to get out. That it all went pear-shaped really bad.
Yeah, the story does serve to prove that these are grizzled, battle-tested soldiers that are aware of their surroundings at most times.
Yeah, these guys are not Frank Castle. I think
they're essentially the Putty Patrol.
Yeah, it is what it is. But as it's playing out, we do see Karen get captured by Lewis. And we see the Punisher, basically trying to talk Lewis down. And it is a dark scene.
Oh my God.
Both in him.
At first, yeah. When he says that, I was like, no. Did he just say that? And did he mean? Let me rewind. I had to rewind it immediately just to hear that little piece of conversation. I was like, wow, that's really dark.
Oh, you mean when he encourages him to push
the
button?
blow himself? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Come on, kid, you can do it. It's just like, whoa. Yeah. Like, what do you think is going on in that moment? Is he like giving credence to like the poem he was reading and saying, yeah, whatever, I hear you, I'm here with you in solidarity as a brother, go as you wanted to go? Or was he saying, do it, you piece of crap, and, what do you think his thought process
I think it was option B, definitely. He was basically saying, you know what, you need to die because you are a threat.
Yeah. I mean, that was his plan in as much before,
Yeah, and you notice that he had Karen leave before he does that. Huh. So up until that moment, he's just talking the guy down. Then as soon as Karen's out of the shot, he's like, yeah, you know what you got to do. You know what you want to do, Yeah. And that's because that's who the Punisher is, because the Punisher, not really a nice guy.
Right. Well, nor did we need one in that moment, I think.
Yes. Well, I mean, he could have been captured. He could have, had his day in court. He could have had all of that stuff. And honestly, I think Karen would have been just as safe with Lewis in a maximum security penitentiary as he is. Yeah, but this
is the comic book world. The DAs all are terrible. The justice system lets these guys back out again, and this is exactly how you create supervillains. You gotta nip it in the bud. They're still just regular villains.
I don't think Lewis was on any track for supervillainy. I think at most he would have been a henchman. I think that would.
Well, luckily we won't get to find out.
Yes. Well, yeah, we won't get to find out. And of course, after it all plays out, when the cops are coming in to arrest the Punisher, she basically acts the hostage and plays the hostage and gives the Punisher her gun, so that, as she throws the Punisher over her shoulder, but to make it look like he's got her, to get to the elevator and to help him escape. And at the very end, we get a nice scene between her and Mahoney again, where it is.
Well, yeah, but hold on. I want to talk about the little scene in the elevator where they almost kiss. Now, are we looking at this situation as being told from Karen's perspective? Is this like Karen's daydream, or is that what really happened? And if so, then what was that?
Well, I'm kind of subscribing to my idea of the Punisher as relatively asexual. Now, as an asexual, that doesn't mean he's necessarily aromantic,
right?
And he may feel something for Karen. Like I said, it was basically, every, 18 months or so, he saw his wife and had sex with her. And that was, It's more than a Vulcan. So it's entirely possible that he is very, that he could be separated from that. But they don't kiss. And, yeah, I mean, from some of that, maybe that is supposed to be Karen's perspective on things. Maybe that, the only question there is who is Karen telling that story to. But, I think if nothing else from this episode, one thing we're supposed to take away from this is none of us need to necessarily know what really happened. And much of it may have been false from the start. And one thing along those same lines that you could even say is when the Punisher is telling Lewis to do it, if you really don't like that story, you could just say that's what Lewis heard. That Lewis just wanted someone to tell him to do it, that it was okay,
Yeah.
To, as you say, to make that poem come to life, as it were. We kind of glanced over a bit with Madani and Russo and the Punisher in the...
and Rollins and that, whoever the higher up above him is, that woman.
Oh, yeah, we have that was pretty great, too. We see her again next episode. Because basically, Rollins is a desperate man trying to keep himself afloat and trying to tell everyone,
it's in their best interest as well.
Yeah, it's in your best interest to do what I want. And the fact of the matter is no one's really buying that. And,
right. But here's what's dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like when she says to him, no, we're gonna whatever finish the job, but then you're resigning. All of a sudden, I don't understand how sometimes people don't recognize who they're talking to. This man is a snake, and he will stop at nothing to maintain and secure his position and his power. So in that moment, all of a sudden, you can see it in his eyes. Okay, she needs to die. She needs to die. That's the decision he made right there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know if he's that bold yet, but he's
going to have to be if he wants to save his job. I don't see a way around it, right? At least in if you think the way people like him think, no? That's what I see. I haven't seen anything.
Well, I guess there's a secondary view on it, which is that he could maybe just be thinking, okay, what is my next play? That I just need to basically he could be looking at is I just need to clear the board.
Right.
Now once I've cleared the board, I've got money, I've got respect, I've got everything I need that wherever I land next, I'm going to be able to make it work. And I might not have to leave once everything is. If I could, basically, he may be thinking once I have it all set, I might be okay. That basically.
Yeah, if I can repitch the idea to her.
She has to tell him to resign because right now it's a liability. But once all said and done, he might be able to.
All right,
I
can see that.
On it. Yeah, I mean it's entirely. You never really. It's hard to say. You could be right. You
Totally.
could be planning on killing her. I don't see. I guess my thing with Rollins is I just don't think he's. I'm not convinced Rollins is that deep a thinker. That's my thought on it. But I did like. But yeah, one thing I did want to touch base on when we get Madani and the Punisher in the hallway. And the Punisher realizes that she's been talking to Micro because this comes into this idea of Micro's betrayal of the Punisher and how they completely reimagined it for this series, and I think reimagined it well. But we'll get to some of that next episode. We also get Russo and the Punisher's final confrontation, where basically the Punisher realizes that. Basically, both of them realize the other one is fully irredeemable in their eyes, that the Punisher is not going to come to the dark side, and Russo is not the friend he thought he would be.
Right.
Is not a fellow soldier he can trust.
Yeah.
Which I think is far more painful for the Punisher than it is for Russo to come to that realization.
Kind of reminded me of that scene in Braveheart where Robert the Bruce betrays him, and William Wallace's face when he realizes what's happened. Oh.
Yeah. I don't know the last Mel Gibson film I saw.
Well, if you're gonna watch one, make it Braveheart.
Yeah, actually, I do know the last Mel Gibson film I saw. It was Mad Max, because it was on cable a little while ago. So it was like just before I lost cable, I saw that. And actually now I have cable again. Well, I have DirecTV now, so no cables, man. It's all Wi-Fi.
Oh, nice. Yeah, right.
Yeah, man. We're
Get the Gringo
man.
was really good. And apocalyptic. Get the Gringo was really good. It's a fun movie, man. It's really, really fun.
Well, I will put it on the list. But anyway, so there's a great scene there, and then we get our final scene with like I said, after the elevator, and we get Karen and Mahoney's debriefing, and basically Mahoney does this great little logic puzzle where if you helped him escape, that makes you an accomplice, and she's like, no. But if he was a terrorist, then, I was a hostage,
Mm-hmm.
And basically, if you're going to say he's a terrorist, then I'm a hostage. The only way that I can be an accomplice is if you admit he's not the terrorist,
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was the episode. Any final thoughts on tonight's episode?
No, and I thought it was a really, really fun one. They're sort of quickening the pace now, and next episode is pretty ridiculous too.
Yeah, well, the next episode is pretty great, and scary and dangerous and worrisome, especially for poor Micro. But we'll get to that next week. Mozz, if people would like to reach out to you, talk to you about all this, how can they find you?
They can email me at mozzmanzor@gmail.com or find me on Facebook under Mozz Manzor. That's MOZZMANZOOR.
And, of course, you can always write to me that old-fashioned email way, the way our Mozz and Poz once said, at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog, all one word, @gmail.com. And, of course, follow me on Twitter as I live tweet Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and many other shows at Charlie Esser. That's CharlieEsser. Look for the two E's in the middle for quality. And now you are forgiven, dear listeners, and you may go in peace and sin no more, but sin you will. And when you do, turn here for your just punishment.